Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers, and this morning I'm looking at a book from Oxford University Press. It's the second edition of their book on the law of higher education. It's written by Farrington and David Palfreyman, and it's an excellent book. This is the book here. We'll have a look at it. It's quite heavy, just the front cover there. Side, there's nothing much at the back. However, let's go inside it. The index is a very substantial one. You can see from it that 700 odd pages. There's a huge amount of information. The work itself is structured very much as one would expect, with paragraph numbering at the sides, and you've got useful footnotes at the bottom. It's basically everything you need to know about the law relating to higher education, something I would have been happy to have had more of a look at when I actually took my own PGCE, but that's a long time ago now. That's a little note about the authors, and you can see right at the front, apart from a lot of case law, some very useful information. One thing I would like to point out is it sets the national context of higher education and what we actually mean by higher education in its rightful place. I couldn't say any more than to say do read the preface as well, so you've got some idea of what this book's about. Now, my wife and I have written a review of this book, and we've given it the title Universities and the Law, from a global as well as a UK perspective, with a companion Oxchep's website. So there's a link now to the Oxford University Education Programme website. And as with many OUP publications, this is an exciting new, not departure, but a new step forward with what we've got. Let me just say a little bit about the review itself. Are there any human institutions more complex than universities? Come to think of it, not many. And it's this realization that's reflected in this highly informative and appropriately scholastic work of reference from OUP. And the two editors are acknowledged experts in the field, having written a number of authoritative earlier works. Now in its second edition, this book, it's actually the first since 2006, has been described as a guide to the law governing higher and in many respects further education. There's obviously a difference. I'm not going to go into that, but one will be aware of the difference between higher and further education. It's also referred to as an element of support to the tertiary education sector offered by the Oxford Centre for Higher Education Policy Studies. That's Oxcheps, which again I've referred to before, which is an excellent step forward. It's an indispensable feature, therefore, of the work that its companion Oxcheps website is designed to provide the reader with continuous online updating to the text, and that's again another new innovation, if you like, of where we go. The chapters themselves, for example on risk assessment and management and dispute management, are useful comparative studies of higher education law, both in our jurisdiction here and in other jurisdictions, including the European law systems. It's been meticulously researched, as I've indicated, and the footnotes themselves are very useful. It's also an enlightening book. To offer only one example, we now have a greater understanding of why publicly funded universities in the UK have never been public or state universities, as is commonly the case in the US or Europe. We're reminded here that the older UK universities, and some of the newer ones as well, were originally religious foundations, and that much of the higher education law which structures and governs these institutions bears a close resemblance to canon law. So an interesting bit of history for you there. Let me just conclude by saying it's a weighty and authoritative work of reference which will be of abiding interest, I think, to specialist legal practitioners in this field, and indeed anybody involved like I am in higher education. And it's noted that the author's interpretations of the law applicable to higher education institutions in England and Wales are stated as at the end of December 2011. So it's new and exciting, and thank you very much to all concerned for producing it. Thank you. Bye-bye.